Hi, poetry lovers. My name is Bella Cohen. I'm thrilled to be back with a new poetry segment. I hope you enjoyed the previous series that I introduced you to. The first one was called The Female Poets of the Victorian Era. The second one was titled The Best Love Poetry. And the third one was focused on poets of the Russian Silver Age. This series of poetry is called Poetry at Random. I basically chose poets from last century, this century that I particularly liked, mostly female poetesses, and I read their poetry, and the ones that I liked the most, again, it's my taste, I included in this series. I hope that you will share my enthusiasm about the poetry. If you like it or if you don't, please leave your thoughts in the comments below. And don't forget to subscribe and to like so that you will receive more segments about wonderful poets in the future. Today we will discuss the poetry of a famous Polish poetess whose name was Wisława Szymborska. This is her portrait, Wisława Szymborska. Wisława Szymborska was born on July 2nd, 1923 in Bnin, a small town in western Poland. Her family moved to Krakow when she turned 8 years old, and she lived there most of her life. She studied Polish literature and sociology from 1945 to 1948. And while she attended the university, she became involved in Krakow's literary scene. In 1948, due to financial difficulties, Wisława quit her studies without a degree. And the same year, she married a poet, Adam Wladek, whom she divorced 7 years later in 1954. But in spite of the divorce, the couple remained close for 32 years until Wladek's death in 1986. At the age of 30, Szymborska began to work at the literary review magazine called Literary Life, a job she held for 30 years. During her lifetime, Szymborska authored nearly 20 books of poetry. Her collections available in English include Monologue of a Dog, published in 2005, Miracle Fair, Selected Poems of Wisława Szymborska, published in 2001, and a few others. While Polish history from World War II through Stalinism clearly influenced her poetry, Szymborska was also a deeply personal poet who expected the large truths and explored them, truths that existed in ordinary, everyday things. Of course, life crosses politics, Szymborska once said, but my poems are strictly not political. They are more about people and life. In 1996, Szymborska won the Nobel Prize in Literature. Szymborska died on February 1st, 2012 from lung cancer in her sleep at home in Krakow. She was 88 years old. Her last poetry was published later in 2012. In 2013, the Wisława Szymborska Award was established in honor of her legacy. And now I will read to you a few of her poems. First, we'll read a poem that Szymborska wrote about the war, and you can see that she's not basically writing who is right or who is wrong in the war. She's just discussing the human condition and how after such horrible war, such destruction, people just continued with their life, picking up the pieces and moving on. The end and the beginning. After every war, Someone has to clean up. Things won't straighten themselves up after all. Someone has to push the rubble to the side of the road so the corpse-filled wagons can pass. Someone has to get mired in scum and ashes, sofa springs, splintered glass, and bloody rags. Someone has to drag in a girder to prop up a wall. Someone has to glaze a window, rehang a door. Photogenic it is not, and takes years. All the cameras have left for another war. We'll need the bridges back and new railway stations. Sleeves will go ragged from rolling them up. Someone, broom in hand, still recalls the way it was. Someone else listens and nods with unsevered head. But already there are those nearby starting to mill about who will find it dull. From out of the bushes, sometimes someone still unearths rusted out arguments and carries them to the garbage pile. Those who knew what was going on here must make way for those who know little and less than little, and finally as little as nothing. In the grass that has overgrown causes and effects, someone must be stretched out, blade of grass in his mouth, gazing at the clouds. I think it's a very good poem that kind of shows the reality of wars and how people have to step basically over the dead bodies and continue their life. And the next generation will not remember anything at all about those who had to rebuild or those who lost their lives during the wars. Her second poem is Some Like Poetry. It's a very short poem. Some, thus not all, not even the majority of all, but minority, not counting schools where one has to, and the poets themselves, there might be 2 people per 1,000 that like poetry. And then the next poem is also kind of about poetry. What is poetry? Poetry, but what is poetry? Many shaky answers have been given to these questions, but I don't know, and don't know, and hold on to it like to a sustaining railing. And another very short poem which I like very much. It's called The 3 Oddest Words. When I pronounce the word future, the first syllable already belongs to the past. When I pronounce the word silence, I destroy it. When I pronounce the word nothing, I make something no non-being can hold. So kind of philosophical, deep poem. Thank you very much for listening. This is it for this segment. These segments that I will present in the future will be pretty short, about 8 to 10 minutes. So just to introduce the poet to you, and if you like this particular poem that I discussed, you can Google them up, read their poetry, or buy their book in the bookstores. Next week, we will talk about a Scottish poet, also a female poet. Her name was Carol Ann Duffy. Thank you very much for listening. Have a great day. And again, a reminder, don't forget to subscribe and like. Have a wonderful day. Bye-bye.